Good morning. The Biden administration is making overtures to India in the hope that closer ties with India will help in our tech race with China. Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor to Joe Biden, visited New Delhi and met with India's prime minister. And the White House followed up with a news release, comprehensive statement, which listed ways in which the United States and India could cooperate. They emphasize in particular the critical and emerging technologies in semiconductors, fighter jet engines, spaceflight, AI. All these fields are obviously areas that require a lot of STEM talent, science, technology, engineering, and math graduates. Even though the statement makes no mention of China, it's about China, first and foremost about de-risking from China, according to the director of Carnegie India, an NGO there. And this outreach is inspired by this here. China is now a science and tech giant. China is ahead of the United States in 53 of 64 critical and emerging technologies. In science, Chinese universities are 10 out of the top 20 spots, compared to 5 for the United States. In 2020, China graduated 1.4 million engineers, 7 times as many as graduated from U.S. institutions. We should point out here again that graduated from U.S. institutions doesn't mean they're Americans. They're engineering graduates of U.S. universities, and a lot of those kids are Chinese too, and Indians. So the U.S. is responding by working closely with our allies in Europe and elsewhere in Asia, in the Netherlands, for example, and with Japan and Korea. India is not the most obvious partner for us, as they point out here. India has only one university ranked in the top 200. In R&D spending, Microsoft spends more money on research and development than India. That's total. Indian government spending at all levels, plus all of India's companies, add up to less than the R&D spend at Microsoft, or at Huawei, the Chinese company. Ranking tech companies by market cap, 58 are from the United States, 9 are from China, Netherlands has got 5, and India doesn't have any. So this is a strange economy, tech-wise, and it's a little bit confusing to those of us on the outside looking in and trying to understand. India has a lot of tech graduates, so where are India's tech companies, and why aren't they investing for the future? Nevertheless, the United States believes that cooperation is of vital strategic imperative for us, and they list 3 reasons here offered by Mr. Lalwani from the U.S. Institute of Peace. First, if the United States and India can align tech standards, it'll make it difficult for China to get a strong foothold into the India market. Second, I would say this is first, the U.S. needs Indian tech talent. Lots of Indians have been very successful in the United States, and maybe there are big opportunities working with Indians in India. Third reason is military. Cooperation in technology will lead to cooperation in military affairs, cooperation for building engines for fighter jets. MQ-9s are our Reaper drones, which he suggests could be used by the Indians also, along with tracking Chinese Navy ships and using India as a manufacturing base for military equipment that can be sold cheaply to Asia and Africa. If you're curious about why the Carnegie Foundation and the so-called Institute of Peace would suggest an alliance with India so we can boost arms sales to Africa, that's a question I've got too. Sounds a lot like the opposite of peace. Here they wrap up. On the plus side, it seems like India prefers to be on the U.S. side of the fence when it comes to tech, and mention that Huawei and ZTE are not in India's 5G system. But on the other hand, India doesn't act like a U.S. ally in most other respects most of the time. They did not condemn Russia after the Ukraine war, not to mention that India is buying up all the Russian oil that the Europeans don't want. And that's the end. And I have to give credit again to the publishers of the Wall Street Journal, who have managed to write an entire piece about India and China. And they even mention Russia a couple of times without using the term BRICS even once. India was up in Russia 2 weeks ago for the big BRICS meeting. China was there too. Doesn't that complicate everything? Do we really believe that the Indians are going to partner up with the United States and use our Reaper drones to follow Chinese Navy ships around? Does anyone actually believe that? Does anyone working at the Wall Street Journal know anybody who they can call and say, what is this BRICS thing that everybody's talking about? Does anyone at the White House know that India is a BRICS country? It's in the name. That's what the I is. This is the waterfall park in Kunming, Yunnan province. Be good.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. Pray for those who hurt you. Love your enemies.